We are commencing legal action against Mrs. Meghan Markle. Her televised allegations, particularly the Oprah interview, have inflicted undue harm upon the royal family.
So, for years, tensions between Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the royal family have fueled endless headlines. But few developments have sparked as much speculation as reports that King Charles and Prince William are preparing their strongest response yet. Whispers of stripped titles, shattered trust, and a permanent break from royal life have left millions wondering what truly changed behind palace walls. Is this the final chapter in the Sussex saga, or is there an even bigger royal reckoning unfolding that the public has yet to discover? But why would Meghan be stripped of her titles? What could be her offense? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. To help us create more videos and uncover the latest royal drama, please subscribe. The King's most painful decision. Behind the thick walls of Buckingham Palace, far from the cameras and the endless headlines, a quiet room is filled with an almost overwhelming silence. The atmosphere is so heavy that every breath seems louder than the last. Around the polished table sit only King Charles and two senior legal advisors. There are no reporters, no photographers, and no audience, only history waiting to unfold. At the center of the table lies a simple black folder marked with the royal seal. It does not look extraordinary, yet everyone in the room understands that whatever happens next could shape the future of the monarchy for generations. King Charles stares at the documents for a long moment, his expression calm but deeply troubled. He reaches for the pen, then pauses. For a few unforgettable seconds, time itself seems to stand still. Finally, the pen touches the paper. With a single signature, the documents declare that Meghan Markle will no longer hold the title of Duchess of Sussex. The papers also confirm the end of every remaining official royal responsibility connected to her and Prince Harry. No more carrying out duties on behalf of the crown. No more representing the royal family at official events. No more enjoying the special privileges that come with working royal status. The decision sends one unmistakable message. The door to returning as senior working royals has been firmly closed. Yet the signature does not come without emotion. Before placing the final seal on the papers, Charles lowers his gaze. His thoughts drift away from the formal room and back through the years. He remembers a cheerful young Harry racing through the palace gardens, laughing without a care in the world. He remembers family celebrations, childhood milestones, and the dreams he once held for his youngest son. For a brief moment, he is not a monarch, but simply a father, carrying the painful weight of family heartbreak. Then reality returns. He knows that the crown demands difficult choices, even when they bring personal sorrow. With steady hands, he presses the royal seal onto the documents. The sound echoes through the silent chamber, like the closing of a long and painful chapter. No one speaks. The room remains completely still. To those present, this is not an act of revenge or bitterness. It is presented as a decision made in the belief that protecting the monarchy must come before personal feelings. But even if the institution grows stronger, the emotional cost is impossible to ignore. The papers may settle official matters, yet they leave behind a wound within the family that could take years, perhaps even generations to heal. But why was King Charles hesitant before sealing the order? How did Meghan react when she got the news? Let's find out. The letter that ended everything. Meanwhile, far away in the quiet comfort of their Montecito home, Meghan sits holding a document that could change everything. At first, she reads the opening lines slowly, as though hoping she has misunderstood them. Then she reads them again, this time with growing disbelief. The warmth leaves her face. Her expression tightens for a brief moment before becoming completely still, revealing a mixture of shock, anger, and disappointment. The room, once peaceful, suddenly feels heavy with tension. She slowly looks up at Harry, who has been watching her in silence. Breaking the stillness, she asks in a calm but piercing voice, "Did you know about this?" The question hangs in the air. Harry quickly denies having any prior knowledge, but his hesitation and uneasy silence leave room for doubt. Even without saying another word, the distance between them seems to grow. To Meghan, The document feels like far more than an official decision. It feels deeply personal, almost as though it is aimed directly at the life they have worked so hard to build since stepping away from royal duties. It is not simply about losing a title. It is about losing a symbol of identity, recognition, and belonging. What stings even more is a little-known clause buried within the document. It reportedly prevents them from using the Sussex name in any way that could suggest royal approval or influence in future business ventures, closing another important door. For Harry, the moment creates an emotional struggle unlike any he has faced before. He is caught between two worlds. On one side stands the family that raised him, shaped his life, and remains part of who he is despite years of conflict. On the other side is the woman he chose to protect and the future they have built together. Standing firmly beside Meghan could mean accepting that his relationship with his father and brother may never fully recover. Meghan sees the decision as confirmation of her deepest fears, that she would never truly be accepted by the institution she married into. To her, the title represented much more than prestige or public recognition. It symbolized her journey, her sacrifices, and the place she believed she had earned through determination and resilience. Losing it feels like watching an important part of her story disappear. As the silence returns, the couple remains seated, overwhelmed by the weight of what lies before them. In that moment, they realize this is not a temporary setback or a decision open to negotiation. There are no appeals, no second chances, and no easy path back. Whether they agree with it or not, the message is unmistakable. The Crown has made its decision, and the consequences are meant to be permanent. But what prompted King Charles to take the difficult decision? How did things get so worse for Rehab? Royal family? Stay with us. Meeting that changed everything. To understand why King Charles finally decided to take a firm stand, you have to return to a quiet meeting inside Windsor Castle, one that was never meant for the public to know about. It was not a grand royal event, nor a carefully staged family reunion. There were no cameras, no reporters, no senior advisors sitting around the table. It was simply a deeply personal conversation between family members who hoped they could repair years of growing pain and mistrust. Many believed this meeting could become the first real step toward healing the widening divide within the royal family. There was still hope that honest conversations might rebuild what had been damaged. But instead of bringing peace, the gathering became the moment everything finally fell apart. King Charles had arranged the meeting with one clear purpose: to settle three difficult questions that could no longer be ignored. The first was whether Harry and Meghan would continue to play any role in future royal events. The second concerned the relationship between their children and the wider royal family. The third, and perhaps the most sensitive, was whether the couple could continue using their royal titles while building an independent life, business empire, and public brand outside the United Kingdom. Prince Harry entered the room, believing there was still room for compromise. He hoped the family would find a solution that respected both his new life and his royal heritage. However, Prince William reportedly made his position clear from the very beginning. In his view, royal status was inseparable from royal responsibility. No one, he believed, should enjoy the prestige, influence, and privileges of the monarchy without accepting the duties and sacrifices that came with them. To him, true independence could never include using the crown's reputation for personal business or commercial success. As the discussion became increasingly tense, King Charles reportedly asked Meghan to sign a confidentiality agreement, hoping everyone could speak openly without fear that private conversations would later become public. Meghan questioned the request, asking why honest family discussions should require promises of silence. The atmosphere grew even more uncomfortable when Meghan presented a proposal outlining what appeared to be an independent royal-style platform. William immediately objected, insisting that the plan crossed important boundaries and needed major changes. Harry then reportedly warned that if they felt cornered, private letters and past communications could eventually become public. The room fell silent. Meghan rose from her seat and walked out without another word. After a long, painful pause, Harry followed behind her. As the heavy doors closed, so too did the family's last realistic hope of an easy reconciliation. From that moment onward, trust gave way to deep suspicion, and the distance between both sides became harder than ever to bridge. Did Harry ever put in efforts to save the situation? Did his efforts yield excellent outcomes? Or was it already too late? Keep witching. Miansi Dinshenschein, Harry's final plea to Charles. Eventually, Prince Harry reportedly made one final attempt to reach his father before everything changed. Determined to speak without distractions, he asked for a private meeting with King Charles at Clarence House. There would be no lawyers, no advisors, and no video call involving Meghan. Harry wanted the conversation to be between father and son, hoping that honesty could succeed where months of tension had failed. As soon as they were alone, Harry spoke openly about the pain he had been carrying. He accused his father of allowing Meghan to be unfairly treated in order to satisfy Prince William and senior palace figures who, in his view, had never truly accepted her. Harry argued that his wife had become an easy target and that the family had done little to protect her. Years of disappointment, frustration, and heartbreak poured out as he demanded answers from the man he still wanted to call Dad. King Charles listened without interrupting. He remained calm and measured, refusing to match Harry's emotion with anger. When Harry had finished, the king quietly explained that rebuilding trust had become almost impossible. Every private conversation, he said, carried the risk of becoming public news. Family discussions that should have remained confidential had repeatedly found their way into books, interviews, documentaries, and headlines. Under those circumstances, he felt there could be no genuine confidence between them. Harry's voice reportedly softened as he made a heartfelt appeal. He pleaded with his father to stop seeing him as a royal headache and instead remember that he was still his son. For a brief moment, the room fell silent. Then Charles looked directly at Harry and replied with words that reportedly cut deeper than any argument. "I am looking at both."
Those few words seemed to change everything. They suggested that while a father's love remained, the king could not ignore the reality before him.
To Charles, Harry was not only a beloved son, but also someone whose actions had created serious challenges for the institution he had sworn to protect. Still unwilling to give up, Harry offered what he believed was a reasonable compromise. He suggested stepping back from using royal styles in commercial ventures while keeping his title and remaining welcome at certain royal occasions. It was one final attempt to preserve some connection to the family and the life he had once known. Charles then delivered the news that ended any remaining hope. The legal process, he explained, had already been completed. Everything had been approved. Only his signature remained, and the decision itself would not be reversed. Harry walked away convinced that Prince William had been the driving force behind the outcome. But beneath the arguments over titles and royal status lay a far more painful belief that when forced to choose between the crown and his youngest son, his father had chosen the monarchy. Did King Charles seem to have single-handedly taken that decision? Could he have been pressured to preserve the honor of the institution? Stay tuned. The palace's hardest decision yet. This decision was not born out of a single argument or a moment of anger. It was the result of weeks of careful planning, long private meetings, and difficult conversations that took place far from the public eye. Behind the grand palace walls, senior advisors quietly examined every controversy, every failed agreement, and every public dispute that had damaged trust between the royal family and Prince Harry. Nothing was ignored. Every event was carefully reviewed as they searched for a lasting solution instead of another temporary compromise. Among the strongest voices in these discussions was Princess Anne. Known for her unwavering sense of duty and commitment to the crown, she reportedly argued that royal titles should never become tools for personal gain or commercial success. In her view, such honors were meant to represent lifelong service, sacrifice, and responsibility, not opportunities to build a brand or generate profit. She believed that allowing titles to be used in ways that blurred this purpose weakened the very values the monarchy was built upon. Many inside the palace had grown tired of temporary fixes that only delayed the inevitable. Each attempt to calm tensions seemed to create fresh disagreements, new headlines, and even deeper divisions. Rather than solving the problem, these short-term measures often left the institution facing the same difficult questions again and again. It became increasingly clear that a more permanent decision would eventually have to be made. Prince William was also looking beyond the present. As the protégé, future king, he knew that unresolved issues surrounding Harry would not simply disappear with time. Instead, they could become even more damaging during his own reign, attracting greater public scrutiny and placing unnecessary pressure on the monarchy. According to those familiar with the discussions, William privately admitted to Princess Catherine that making such a decision felt like severing the final emotional connection he still had with his younger brother. Even so, he believed that protecting the long-term stability of the institution had to come before personal feelings. King Charles himself reportedly struggled with the emotional weight of the situation. He reminded those around him that Harry was not just a royal figure or a constitutional issue, he was his son. The king found it difficult to separate the responsibilities of the crown from the love of a father. Yet, as more evidence and concerns were presented, even he could see that the monarchy could not continue, living with endless uncertainty over titles, branding, official roles, and public expectations. What began as a painful family disagreement had evolved into something much larger. Behind closed doors, it was no longer simply about strained relationships or personal disappointment. It had become a defining battle over the future of the monarchy itself, with its leaders convinced that preserving the crown's stability required decisions that were as heartbreaking as they were historic. On the part of the Sussexes, what opinion do people have about them? How have royal commentators expressed their views about them? Stay glued.
How Meghan changed Prince Harry.
According to many royal commentators, Prince Harry's marriage to Meghan Markle became one of the biggest turning points in his life, changing not only how the world saw him, but also how he saw himself. Since the couple first met in 2016 and married in 2018, endless debates have surrounded Harry's remarkable transformation. Some people believe he became a completely different person after falling in love with Meghan, while others argue that he simply matured and chose a new direction for his life. The question remains one of the most discussed topics surrounding the modern royal family. For years, critics have claimed that Harry's personality, priorities, and relationship with the monarchy changed dramatically after Meghan entered his life. They point to his growing distance from royal traditions, his decision to step away from official duties, and his willingness to publicly criticize life within the institution. To many observers, these changes appeared sudden and deeply unsettling, leading to speculation that Meghan had significantly influenced Harry's choices. Harry, however, has firmly rejected that interpretation. During his widely discussed interview on 60 Minutes, he acknowledged that many people, including some within the royal family, believed Meghan had somehow changed him. He recalled hearing whispers that suggested, "He's changed. She must be a witch." Rather than becoming defensive, Harry used the moment to challenge what he described as an unfair and outdated narrative. According to Harry, the real transformation had nothing to do with manipulation or outside influence. Instead, he believes he simply grew up. He explained that he no longer wanted to live the reckless lifestyle that once made headlines around the world. The younger prince, known for partying, drinking heavily, making controversial mistakes, and frequently attracting negative media attention, was a version of himself he wanted to leave behind. Meeting Meghan, he said, gave him something far more valuable: a loving partner, a sense of purpose, and the chance to build a happy family. Looking back, Harry said he was genuinely thankful for the person he had become. Not everyone shares Harry's view. Several royal experts believe his transformation came with a heavy price, especially for his relationship with the royal family. Among them is former BBC royal correspondent Jenny Bond, who has suggested that Prince William's early concerns about Harry and Meghan's fast-moving romance may have been more reasonable than many first believed. Unlike William and Catherine, whose relationship developed gradually over nearly 10 years before marriage, Harry and Meghan's courtship moved at remarkable speed. Bond argues that William's advice should not necessarily be seen as criticism or jealousy. Instead, she believes it reflected the concern of an older brother who understood the extraordinary pressures of royal life and wanted Harry to take enough time before making one of the most important decisions of his life. Whether Harry's transformation was for better or worse, it continues to divide opinion and remains one of the defining stories of the modern monarchy. After King Charles' verdict, How fast was the implementation? Was there room for negotiations? Let's find out. The day everything finally changed. So, the moment the final approval was given, everything changed with astonishing speed. It was as though the palace had been waiting for this exact moment. Within hours, official records were updated, internal documents were revised, and long-standing plans were quietly rewritten. Before the day was over, the Sussexes' remaining links to official royal life had begun to disappear one after another. Invitations that might once have arrived without question were no longer on the list. Their names quietly vanished from schedules for future royal events. Pages on official websites were edited, and references that had connected Harry and Meghan to active royal duties seemed to fade almost instantly. Every update sent the same unmistakable message: a new chapter had begun, and there was no turning back. Meghan reportedly found herself refreshing one web page after another, hoping something might still remain, but each time the page loaded, the result was the same. The title and role she had once held with such hope were no longer there. Looking at the screen in disbelief, she quietly murmured, "They erased me." Harry tried to comfort her, gently reminding her that they had not erased who she was as a person. "They erased the role," he said softly. But those words could not ease the pain. For Meghan, the loss felt deeply personal. She had invested years trying to build a meaningful place within one of the world's most famous families, believing she could contribute and make a difference. Seeing that connection disappear so completely left an emotional scar. Although private family relationships were not officially forbidden, their public responsibilities had effectively come to an end. Any future meeting with members of the royal family would happen only through personal invitations, not as part of official royal business. Even a planned charity announcement had to be cancelled because it contained language that could be interpreted as suggesting royal support. That single decision made it clear how carefully every detail was now being monitored. What surprised many observers most was not just what changed, but how quickly it happened. The speed of the transition suggested that detailed plans had already been prepared long before the decision became public. Once the signal was given, every department appeared ready to act immediately. Behind closed doors, Harry and Meghan found themselves having one of the most honest conversations of their lives. There were no advisors, no public relations teams, and no carefully written talking points. Meghan had already prepared forceful public responses, ready to challenge what had happened. Yet Harry confessed something that changed the entire mood. He admitted that much of his anger had been hiding a deeper pain, the grief of losing the family life he had always imagined. Anger had been easier to carry than heartbreak. Hearing those words, Meghan quietly put aside the statements she had prepared. Instead of escalating the conflict, they made a different choice. They accepted that their future would no longer depend on royal status or palace approval. Whatever came next, they would have to build it entirely on their own, far from the institution that had once defined their lives. How was King Charles able to adjust and live with the outcome of his decision? Did he give Harry the opportunity to come in as the son he is? Watching. The price of royal duty. Now the world seemed to stop. News spread like wildfire across television, newspapers, and social media. Every headline carried the same shocking message, and within hours, people everywhere were debating what had happened. Outside the palace, crowds gathered with mixed emotions. Some applauded King Charles, believing he had finally drawn a clear line between royal duty and personal independence. They argued that the monarchy could only survive if its rules were respected. Others saw the decision very differently, calling it harsh, unnecessary, and deeply heartbreaking. To them, it felt less like leadership and more like a family tearing itself apart. Then, something unexpected happened. Amid the noise and heated arguments, an old photograph began circulating once again. It showed a much younger Charles, smiling beside Prince William, and a little Prince Harry. The image captured happier days, long before disagreements, interviews, and public battles changed everything. For a brief moment, the endless debates faded. People no longer saw kings, princes, or royal titles. They simply saw a father and his two sons, a family that had once shared love, laughter, and hope before life pulled them in different directions. Even as chants of Harry's name echoed from outside the palace gates, King Charles reportedly refused to shut the windows. Whether it was an act of quiet strength or silent reflection, no one could truly know. Prince William, meanwhile, struggled with the painful label of being the brother who had pushed Harry away. Although convinced that difficult choices were necessary to protect the monarchy's future, the emotional burden was impossible to ignore. Some responsibilities, he realized, come with wounds that never fully disappear. Behind closed doors, away from the cameras and public opinion, Charles reportedly wrote to Harry. The message was simple yet powerful. The king's decision regarding the crown would not change, but the relationship between father and son did not have to end. According to the story, Harry treasured the letter and quietly began writing his own response. It started with just 2 heartfelt words, "Dear Pa." Those words hinted that, despite everything, a small spark of hope still remained. Meghan, meanwhile, embraced her new path with confidence, presenting her life outside the royal family as a hard-earned journey toward independence. William privately mourned the future he had once imagined, a future where he and Harry would stand side by side, supporting one another through the responsibilities of the crown. The monarchy appeared stronger, more focused, and more united in purpose, yet somehow it also felt less complete. A significant chapter in royal history had finally come to a close. In the end, this story reminds us that when family conflict collides with power, tradition, and public expectation, no one escapes unhurt. Charles protected the Bury, institution he believed in. Harry and Meghan gained the freedom they sought. William secured the future of the crown. Yet every victory carried its own cost. As one chapter closed, the world was left wondering whether forgiveness, healing, and reconciliation could ever rebuild a bridge that now seemed wider than ever before. So, what do you think about King Charles' decision to strip Meghan? How do you think it would affect the monarchy? We'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.